Remember fidget spinners? I know, they're still around, but not really. They're around in the sense that we still see the overstock from the market saturation that occurred when every knockoff company in the world tried to jump on the trend. If you go by Google search data, the entire lifetime of the fad happened in 2017. There's an urban legend that goes around that it was invented in 1993 by a teacher who couldn't afford to renew her patent. Here are her patent drawings. Does that look like a fidget spinner to you? Welcome to You Want to Know, brought to you by Legion of Weirdos. I'm Christopher, and you and I, we're the Weirdos. This week's question comes from Blairgall the Alien, and that is, does it seem to you having physical sensory input like a fidget spinner is satisfying for ADHD? Do you or others look at the devices as you're using them, or does the mere fact that your hands are in use suffice? That's technically two questions. Fidget spinners were marketed as a treatment for ADHD, but ironically, like a third of the high schools in the country banned them because they were too distracting. And there's been no peer-reviewed scientific data to prove that they're even useful in treating ADHD. They've also been marketed to help those with anxiety or autism, and those are even more far-fetched claims. The idea that just playing with a toy is going to rid everyone of their anxiety is just preposterous, and anyone who thinks a fidget spinner is a panacea for autism doesn't understand how complex autism is. Sure, it may help some with autism by offering a means of sensory input if they're seeking it, but the same could be said for a clicky ballpoint pen. Everyone who fidgets is going to respond differently to different methods of fidgeting. Most people think fidgeting is to play with something with your hands, but it really refers to any small, continuous movements. Fidgeting can be playing with your hair, tapping your foot or bouncing your leg, wringing your hands, shifting positions in your chair or swiveling a chair, doodling, constantly sipping from a drink, chewing or popping gum, pacing. I usually play drum beats on myself. But when I do it, I'm not aware that I'm just walking. Kind of like when you don't think about picking your nose. My habit's cleaner. The problem though, fidgeting isn't about finding a new toy to fidget with if the fidgeting's a problem at all. It's about curbing the habit that already exists. Most people who fidget do it without even realizing they're doing it. It's an automatic and non-deliberate action. Also, their fidgeting is often dissimilar to playing with a fidget spinner. Trying to replace your fidgeting with a different kind of fidgeting requires a deliberate action, which is problematic if the habit you're intending to replace it happens without you realizing it. Say you're tapping your foot, and you notice it, and you stop and immediately go for the fidget spinner. Well, how long have you been tapping your foot? Maybe now you're developing a habit of a routine, tapping your foot followed by playing with a fidget spinner. Now you're twice as annoying. Congratulations! People around you may or may not notice the foot tapping, but they're definitely gonna notice that fidget spinner, especially when you make the deliberate action of pulling it out of your pocket. When I first got my hands on a fidget spinner, I thought that I could turn it into a habit that I unconsciously do, and that habit would be therapeutic. I had the same notion when I bought Theraputty. It didn't work. The benefits weren't important enough to me to take deliberate actions to create a habit. I'm the same way with gyms. So, back to the questions. Does it seem to you having a physical sensory input, fidget spinners, is satisfying for ADHD? For me, the self-soothing, or whatever it is, seems to come from the motion versus the sensation. The rhythmic flapping of my hands as I body drum, and I bounce my legs sometimes. I can't talk on the phone without a pen in my hand, but I don't play with the pen. I always like write nonsense or doodle. Also, I can do these things with almost no effort, certainly no conscious effort. I can't say the same thing about a fidget spinner. Do you or others look at the devices as you're using them, or does the mere fact that your hands are in use suffice? Being it's more the motion that I'm hooked on, looking isn't a necessary part of it. And in fact, if I looked and noticed what I was doing, I'd probably stop myself in most instances. As for fidget spinners, I think in 20 or 30 years, kids are gonna look at those like silly putty or slinkies or that thing with the hoop and the stick that kids used to do. They won't believe it was ever super popular, and they wonder what the hell the fuss was all about. Thanks for watching. On the screen is a link to another video YouTube thinks you'll like, plus a link to a video from another Legion of Weirdos channel. If you haven't already, you can join the Legion by clicking the round icon on the screen. We're here 5 times a week. Until next time, stay weird and stay out of the comfort zones.